And Elena, when we talk about investors, I think it's worth mentioning that business and especially the tax environment is a very important factor here, especially for long-term investments.
Fully agree with you, Georgi. That's why the Checkpoints works with a tax expert, tax specialist on a regular basis to keep our viewers updated on recent developments and changes.
And today we will be talking about such changes that came into force since January 21st, namely a new term, non-qualified VAT payer, has been introduced to the law, and companies have to obtain this status from the Revenue Service of Georgia.
Exactly, Georgi. These amendments were made as a result of several high-profile value-added tax frauds that have been uncovered in recent years. Our analyst Shota Tkeshelashevili talked with the tax specialist Gela Barshov, who leads the consultancy firm TP Solutions.
Hello, Gela. Please provide us who is the VAT taxpayer in Georgia and what rules apply to them?
First of all, we have VAT and reverse VAT in Georgia, and the rate for both taxes is 18%. For having obligation of to pay VAT, it is necessary to be VAT payer, to be registered on VAT. There is a statutory VAT registration and there is a voluntary VAT registration. Statutory VAT registration is when a taxpayer has obligation to register on VAT. There are some preconditions provided by the law when taxpayer has to register on VAT. For example, the most common such precondition is when 100,000 Georgian lari threshold of turnover is exceeded per 12 consecutive months. Another type of registration is a voluntary registration when a taxpayer does not have obligation to register on VAT, but they want to be registered on VAT. Usually they want to be VAT registered because without registration they cannot enjoy the right of deduction of input VAT. So that's why they decide to be VAT payer without any obligation.
So it's several weeks that Georgian Revenue Service has introduced the new term non-qualified VAT payer. What does this new term mean for Georgian taxpayers?
The term non-qualified VAT payer, of course, yes, it is newly introduced since January last month. Companies who qualify under the status non-qualified VAT payer, they have no right to deduct input VAT. Neither way client have right to deduct input VAT on services goods received from them. The newly VAT registered companies or entrepreneurs, also already VAT registered companies with no taxable transaction in last 12 months will be qualified, automatically qualified under non-qualified VAT payer status. After that, tax authority will start examination, individual manual examination per each non-qualified VAT payer, and they will request documentation. They might visit office, they might examine tax declarations or conduct interviews. After this examination, they decide whether to leave the status to a taxpayer, non-qualified VAT payer, or remove the status, remove the restrictions, and grant the status of qualified VAT payer. In case if status will not be removed within several days, and the decision of a tax authority will be to leave this non-qualified VAT payer status and restrictions, taxpayer has right to appeal this decision in the Ministry of Finance system or before the court.
And how problematic this new term might be for taxpayers? Does it introduce new obligations for them or new procedures for them?
In my opinion, that should not be much problem, because if it takes 10 days, as it was announced by Georgian Revenue Service examination, it should not be reason for losing any input VAT right, etc. It will just be postponed by several days. But what biggest problem what I see is that these procedures which I mentioned, examination, might become additional risk criteria for tax administration. For example, if I start analyzing documents of a non-qualified VAT payers, they might find out something else, some other tax risks, which will trigger new tax inspection. That risk, I personally see that's biggest problem so far. And I would advise to business in Georgia to be ready and prepare for this examination to make sure that they do not have any other tax risk in their company.
As a tax specialist, what do you think, what was the main purpose of these new amendments?
Yes, in my opinion, the main purpose is very obvious, that is preventing the fraud, VAT fraud. We had many cases in the past when so-called we are using VAT schemes, millions of Georgian lari were lost from a budget. So in my opinion, the government just want to prevent this fraud.
We are BMG. Follow and subscribe for business and economics news.